Just gonna have to move all kinds of things around.
We are live.
Yay!
And while we're waiting for our friends to join us, I'm going to share something.
What are you gonna share?
Well, since I had to bail last night and we didn't do Legacy, the last part of Legacy, I have something to
Well,
share.
that's not even the last part. I think it's the second to last
Oh,
part.
is it our second to last part?
Yeah.
Sorry, I couldn't remember. I haven't had my book with me, so. But I'm going to share something cool that,
I like cool things.
yeah. And, maybe it's a stretch, but I just have to find the folder. It's a terrible picture.
Oh no.
Yeah,
Hi, Dearie.
I usually do better with my pictures, but today I just ended up taking a picture at my desk. And my
Was
my
there room
lighting.
on your desk to take the picture? Ooh, I don't think that
I'm
picture's terrible.
I moved some things to the side, but yeah, the colors are off and it's kind of
Oh
got
my
some.
goodness. Total brain fart. I didn't realize that's why you were going bananas over that block. I thought you were just going bananas
Right?
because it looked cool.
Well, I mean, it looks cool. That's why it caught my eye at first. In fact, I had not even seen it in person when it caught my eye. I saw it in Amanda showed me a picture of her booth and I was like, "Oh, it looks so great." And so then when
Well,
I went shopping at her booth,
I was
that's
gonna
when I
say,
realized.
make sure that you tell everybody what booth, where, who, and you're talking about.
Yes, indeed. So this cute little block I purchased at the Penn Dry Goods show this past weekend. And our friend Amanda was a vendor there. It was her first time vending there. And her business is called Unity Quilts, but I don't think she has I'm not sure if you spoke with
I
her, but
didn't find an online presence.
yeah, I don't think she has an online presence yet because I think she's really just getting started with this.
Mhm.
Um, but anyway, her booth was adorable and this caught my eye in her booth picture. And when I went and actually looked at it and saw it in person, I was like, oh my gosh, it looks exactly like this,
The orange peel, right?
the orange. Yes, it's the
Yeah.
orange bud,
Oh, orange
which
bud.
is in Legacy. And I took a picture of that page.
You know what's funny is I would see I didn't make the connection because obviously like the color placement like has
Hmm.
like an effect on how you're gonna see the block. But now that I'm
Right.
seeing them up together, and it has, I guess the leaves are a little bit different, but I'm like, holy
Yeah, I mean,
moly.
and that's the thing. I mean, who knows if that's what this block is? But to me, the way that they stitched it, you see those stitching lines there, they sort of mirror this. And of course, it doesn't have the little, I don't know what you call those, the little leaves that would be under a bud.
Hmm.
Um, it doesn't have those, but it did have
Maybe
these
it's a
leaves.
little more mature than that, where it's shed its bun leaves.
Maybe. I don't know,
But
but
that's really cool. And I really like the fabrics in that. I
yeah,
remember Ugin in it myself. Hi, Jan. Hi, Mardim.
hey guys. Yeah, it just reminded me of that. And I wanted to support Amanda. And of course I went back and bought something else from her. So
Hmm.
that will be revealed at a later date. The other thing I bought from her. So
Oh, fancy.
yeah.
Fancy schmancy. Well, since we've got some people coming in, we should probably start with our
Yeah.
announcements.
Yes. So let me
So,
stop sharing so everybody can see our beautiful faces.
oh, really? Oh, oh. Um, so tomorrow being Thursday, you have a live stream on your
I do.
Twitch at 2 p.m., right?
Mhm.
Do you have any idea yet what you're discussing tomorrow?
So tomorrow we're gonna continue reading the Chintz book by MacIver Percival. And I was going to do a recap of the Penn Dry Goods show, because I know you did that last night when I had to bail.
Mhm.
But I have some goodies to show too. So
You
I thought I would
do.
do that.
Yep, you do. And
Yeah.
then next week, so next Tuesday, which will be it'll be the 11th. What we'll end up doing is we'll do the chapters in Legacy that we didn't do tonight, which I think were like it was like 14 through 16, I believe.
Mhm.
Um
Yeah. Yep.
yeah, okay. And we'll discuss that, and that means that we'll have one more chunk after that, and then we move on to the Crazy Quilts book, which I have had links up in the video descriptions if you were looking for that book. We have just decided at the last second that our next Needlework Nights, which will be on the 19th, is going to be stilettos. Because especially if you just watched my unboxing, I just got a bunch. I have some others. Steph has some. They're easy to find online, and just it's the month of the stiletto.
And by stiletto, we mean it's like a pointy sewing notion, not a high heel shoe.
Should I bring one of those too? I wonder
Oh,
if there's one. Wouldn't it be funny if there was a stiletto and like the top of it, the handle was a stiletto?
that would
That
be
must
very
ex
cute.
that must exist somewhere. It might not be antique or vintage, but I'm thinking like I almost feel like Tula Pink or somebody would like come up with something like that. Like um so there's that. Any other pressing announcements?
So Mary Witherwax Quilt Along, 100
Oh
Day
yes.
Quilt Along has gotten going. It started on Saturday. Yours truly has gotten a few blocks done, even though I had some life circumstances that kind of I had to drop everything. But in the evenings, I could sew. So I have gotten my blocks done. I just need to take pictures. But it's never too late to join. You could join on day 99 if you wanted, but the I guess I should probably put the link in the chat.
I have a feeling I'm
Um,
gonna end up working on mine more in chunks rather than by the day, because man, that day thing, I do have like a little kind
yeah.
of girlfriends retreat coming up. Um, so I'm hoping to like really like dig into that. I did pick out a bunch of fabric, so
Oh
I could
yeah.
definitely post fabric that I had picked out. But
Yeah.
otherwise,
So
also, did you happen to open your AQSG email today? Um,
I don't believe I did.
they sent out today blanket statements,
Ah,
and
yes. I haven't had a chance to look yet.
yeah, the reason I mention it is because there's an article in there about all of the Mary Schaefer letters and ephemera that the Quilters Hall of Fame has. And they've recently gone through it. So I was thinking that potentially on another evening or something, we might look at that, because there's some other things about blanket statements that you and I have been meaning to talk about on a live stream anyways.
Sure, yeah.
So
And that reminds me, you actually have one of my Mary Schaefer items I left with you this past weekend.
yes, I do. I meant to
I
give it to
realized that
you
today.
and I didn't. Yeah. Don't worry, it'll be safe, held hostage here, you know.
I may or may not have a shoe pin cushion that belongs to you as well.
But I mean, you know what? That's part of the shoe pincushion friendship is they just keep swapping back and forth. So,
The
all right.
Sisterhood of the Traveling Shoe Pin Cushions.
Yeah. The almost twins. They're like twins, but like one of them has a mole, kind of thing.
Mhm.
Alrighty. Are we ready to get going here?
I think we're ready. And so, are you going to share your screen to show off things?
Yes, I will share first. Am I shareable?
You should be.
Okay, yeah, I'm good. I'm good. Okay. So,
Ooh.
what is all that?
So this would be from Mike's collection, right?
Yes. So what we're looking at here is from the collection of Don Ronigan's husband, Mike, who he collects 6-inch rulers. A lot of times they end up being wood. I think he has others in his collection. Just don't quote me on that. And he had quite a bit that were sewing, textile, needlework related. And one of the reasons it had come up is because I had bought one myself, uh, with the idea of having it in, product photos for my page. And I remember showing Dawn some months ago when I had gotten it, and she was like, "Oh my God, I don't think Mike has that one." So because all that talk had been going on and she had been on the show, I was just like, would Mike be interested in sharing his collection? And it was one of those, like, he doesn't need to come on the stream, don't worry. Pictures are totally acceptable. And I won't ask for more. So these, what we're looking at, aren't even all of them that he has that are sewing, textile, needlework related. This is just what he felt like sending, and I could see where it can become a bit daunting. But these are all of the fronts. There's another picture too of the backs. But this is a really nice picture.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that we can
Yeah,
really
and he definitely has all kinds of, we're gonna get to the eBay and the Etsy pictures, but or links, but I had a really hard time just in my online search finding ones that were specifically sewing related. I feel like those are probably very, very collectible and a little bit more,
Well,
I don't know.
I also wonder potentially if just sometimes vendors aren't really specifying very well, because I noticed too, like
Yeah, that
in
too.
search terms, if I put
Hmm.
in like sewing, I wouldn't really get anything. But the one that
Right.
I have on there, I purposely listed Coats and Clark because, funny story, when I was at Brimfield 3 or 4 weeks ago, something, I was looking at some stuff and I was sending pictures to Dawn. Her and I are we're actually discussing a very big chatelaine waxer that a vendor had, and whether or not we thought it was repro or so. He had one of those cases where you like look in the top down, like a jewelry case. So I
Hmm.
took like a wide view because there's some other stuff in there, and we're yakking about whatever else is in the case. And then I leave. And I had said to her, I'm always like, when you know what your friends collect, you start looking for things
Yeah.
for them. So I'm
Why do I
always
have
on
so much sunbonnet too?
yeah. So I'm always on the lookout, for things, I've found a couple rulers, for Mike or something for Dawn or something. So I had said to her, I'm like, shockingly, I didn't find one ruler in the whole place. And she was like, what about that Coats and Clark's ruler? And I'm like, what are you talking about? And she sends the photo back to me.
This
And
thing right
and
there.
yeah, and right in the bottom of the case, and when I say the bottom, I mean like the area closest to me was a ruler that was Coats and Clark. And I was like, well, why didn't you say anything? Because she was like, oh yeah, I don't think Mike has that. And I was like, I was there. So
That's funny.
yeah, I don't know. I don't even know how much it was. Sometimes I've noticed I'm finding rulers, they're super reasonable, $10 and under.
Oh yeah.
I found one when I was shopping in New Oxford they wanted $25. And it was pretty beat up. Like it wasn't even like,
Yeah. I
nothing
feel
in
like
like mint
I
condition.
saw some on eBay that were more expensive, but eBay is one of those things where sometimes I think you get some slightly delusional dealers or sellers on eBay that think they're going to get like, they see dollar signs in their eyes. But yeah, I would say that you were correct. Everything I saw, the average price, I guess, depending on maybe how desirable um, the advertising was, and probably also like what kind of condition the ruler was in. They were anywhere from like $6 to $12 in
Yeah,
that range.
it's a very reasonable thing to collect.
Hmm.
So Mike gave me some notes. Um, and I'll
Oh, before you get to his notes, because those were some interesting notes. One thing that I've really noticed about these, and I think it's probably goes for anything that's like an advertising sort of giveaway, is the little some of them, not all of them, obviously, but some of them have the best little advertising slogans.
Mhm.
And you're like, what are they talking about? There's one actually in Mike's stuff that I think it's up there, kind of in the right hand corner. Go the other way.
Oh,
Yeah, easy underwear for any child of any age. don't want to know what that's about.
Well, and Bait Street shirts are for well-dressed
And then
men.
yeah, the one above that of the easy underwear, it looks like it's some type of I guess it looks like it's probably different clothing brands, but they're funny names like Red Strap overalls, Iron Man pants, Cowboy Kings, and Texas Ranger shirts. I love that. Good
Yeah.
stuff.
No, I mean, I find it's, these are similar to me in terms of interest as the ads that we were looking
Hmm.
at in like the Modern Priscilla and stuff like that, which actually
Yep.
reminds me, I just found out at the very last minute, when I say last minute, I mean like a week ago, that this Saturday at the same hotel that I often go to, that show called the Boxborough Show that I tell you
Hmm.
I find a lot of stuff. They're having a paper ephemera advertising show, like antique
Ooh.
and vintage stuff. And I started following them on Facebook, and I had just like asked them, like, are these, because I saw some pictures, and it's one of those things where it can be such a mixed bag because so many things contain advertising. And I was like, are people, are vendors gonna have Victorian trade cards? And they were like, you bet. So I have a feeling if I just go into any vendor and just be like, you have like sewing needlework related stuff. So
Mhm.
there might be some really cool things to look at. I'm gonna go Saturday
That'll be
morning.
fun. Yeah, I can't wait to see
Um,
what you find.
well, and here was me all excited that New Oxford shopping was kind of a dud. I was like, well, my wallet's happy. So much for that. So, okay.
All
So
right, so
let me,
talk about this technical stuff.
yes, and let me just give us something else to look at here. We'll go to the bottom here of Mike's picture, and then we'll look at the back. Some stuff has stuff on the back of it.
Iowa Button and Plaiting Company.
So, Mike said that wood rulers can shrink and expand, so they're not recommended when highly accurate cutting is required. A plastic ruler, which would be choice B, will produce more accurate results. A wooden ruler can absorb water and have its length changed as a result. A cloth tape measure can be stretched. A metal ruler is the second best choice, but it will expand and contract with temperature changes. The examples that he has with calendars, which again, we're going to see the back in a second,
Mhm.
were likely printed the year before and then given as gifts at the end of the
End of the
previous
year.
year.
And that makes sense
Mm-hmm.
because, I feel like a calendar, at the beginning of the year, getting something with the calendar on it. But, as you get towards the end of the year, it's like, this isn't much use, much use. So it makes
Well,
sense that
that's
it's like a big end of the year kind of like, oh, we're going to give away. And this is our big advertising push in December.
that's also why, it all goes on sale in July.
Right.
Um, and then he said several food and other non-textile related businesses add for the ladies' work basket on the back of the rulers to make them more relevant. And then he says his collection total consists of some 150 different rulers. And then
Ooh,
that doesn't account for duplicates of things.
gotcha.
Isn't that
So it looks like
bananas?
I Fleischer and Sons, it looks like he's got a number of theirs.
Mm-hmm.
Look,
And that one
they
is
changed a
supplies
little
for
bit
every
over the years.
workroom. Oh yeah, they're all
Yeah.
Cincinnati, Ohio. It would be interesting too if it was like they had different locations. Like I got Eastern Textile Company with isn't that a phone? Oh, it's Greenfield, Mass.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, and then here's another one with a different kind of phone.
Mm-hmm. And notice the
Kindergarten
telephone
clock.
numbers. Notice the telephone numbers.
Mm-hmm.
They are not the 10-digit numbers we have now.
Are they 10? The Beehive store for, oh yeah, for the ladies' work basket right here. I
Mm-hmm.
like kindergarten cloth.
Yeah, that's a good one
That's
too.
cute. Yeah, that's cute. Did we look at this bottom here? So we have the sewing basket. This
The
sewing,
sewing
no,
nook. Needle in a
needle in a
haystack.
haystack.
I'm hoping you don't force me to dig through a haystack to buy my needles.
Unless it's one of those big ones. Okay, let's take a peek here at the bag.
Backs, yeah.
Mhm.
Because my little rulers are sadly, with the exception of one, sadly missing much interest on the back.
Look at this. Some of them are just as interesting as the front. So like some of them,
Yeah.
obviously you have like nothing.
Mhm.
So this one is a bit of a glare. It's different kinds of fabric. Oh, and the machine needles, hand needles, and thread up here that you would need, like very sheer and then sheer. Let's see, model forms that excel. Oh, that one had the dress form. Oh, here's one of the ones with the calendar.
Mhm.
That one's 1920 to 21. Man,
The
wolf cloth
apparel, oh,
cutters set the pace.
the apparel oft proclaims the man. Do you wear Pearson tailoring?
Let's see, what was your easy underwear there?
Easy quality is economy. Measure the quality of easy underwear. Prove for yourself. Hmm.
For
Okay.
15 years, we have been pleasing our trade. Why not you?
They wear longer because they're stronger.
I almost feel like men's underwear should be made out of armor. Have you seen those real jokes where it's like this girl's doing his laundry and she pulls up his underwear and it's Swiss cheese? Like
May or may not have a little bit of that in my own laundry. I mean, and I'm not talking about my own underwear. I'm talking about the other people I live with.
the Wolf Machine Company, Wolf Cloth Cutting Machines set the pace. So it's funny that because I know like the front of one of those rulers was saying that they use cloth cutting machines. It makes me think like of like AccuQuilt kind of like cutters of yesteryear. I know they're not doing that, but that's what it makes me think
Yeah,
of.
well, based so the it's that Maiman cloth cutters. It
Mm-hmm.
looks like those are the machines, right, on the
Mm.
corners, and they look like what I've seen in industrial cloth cutting. I don't know if you've ever seen the reels of when they're making pre-cuts,
Okay.
and it's literally the person that's operating the machine. It's like a bandsaw or like a table saw for cloth. And they just like push it through.
Hmm.
That's what those look like. And
One of these kind of almost looks like it could be like a pinker.
yeah. Yeah, interesting. And I mean, based on the phone number, that's an old ruler. So these are things that they had
Apparently, this was
back
going to
then.
be an investigation of early phone numbers. We just didn't know it. And let's see, we've got Utica threads for quality product and service. National Thread Supply, sewing room supplies. Hey, look, they had toll-free calling. And here we go at the 1-800. So if we've got since 1945, then what do you think this is? When do we start
Uh,
toll-free calling?
I don't know when toll free started.
I almost feel like it was the 90s. Like,
Nah, it's got to be before that. I mean, I remember toll free numbers when I was a child. So, but I don't know. Um, where are any of our encyclopedic friends? Although you guys who are here, I know are serial Googlers, so I bet you will have the answer any minute for us
someone
when
will
1-800
know.
numbers started. Um,
Dry goods, rugs, and draperies ready to wear.
well, I like tapes, threads, and notions. We have what you need.
Oh
Well,
yeah,
that's pretty
straight to the
simple.
point. Yeah. I want my laundry washed in what is it, Baxter?
Baxterine.
The soft water soap used only at the Baxter Laundry. So easy to
Hmm.
phone Baxter's. Is that just 8,000? I think their phone number is just 8,000.
Hey, Jill, what's your number? 7. You just need to dial 7.
You just
Oh,
made me
some of
think of
these
that.
have
You just
some.
made me think of that Friends episode with the 7.
Oh, oh goodness. And we're at PG-13 here. Um,
The
our
large and most complete notion and ribbon house in the West.
mm,
The latest novelties in both lines, always in stock and arriving daily. I find some of this so interesting. And then like it's one of those like in a sea of advertising rulers. Sorry that the sun's like on my face. and you've got these like really cool ones that have stuff on here. How can you be a boring guy with like nothing on your ruler?
Right. And okay, so those three that we're looking at there that have those kind of lengthy, that's all the same company, right? Those were
Hold on, we can go back. They were, yeah, the Iowa button.
okay.
Mm-hmm.
Ah, all right. I knew Dee Marie wouldn't leave, wouldn't let us down. Okay. Operator assisted toll-free calling, including the Zenith number service, introduced in the 1930s.
Wow. I feel
Okay.
like everyone was complaining about how expensive it was to call 1-800 even when I was a kid.
Yeah, that is really interesting. I would not have guessed that there was some mechanism for toll-free calling as early as the 1930s.
Mm.
As well as the manual free phone service introduced by the British Post Office in 1960. Interesting. Yeah, we
Mm-hmm.
learn something new every time.
Yep, we're nerds here. AT&T introduced toll-free calling, a toll-free calling number in 1966. Gotta
1966.
remember
Okay.
AT&T.
Okay.
An automated toll-free. Oh yes, she said the same thing
All
about
right. So
AT&T.
it took them about 30 years to get it where you could just dial it.
Mm-hmm.
Now I wonder how the toll free, like with operator assisted, I mean, I guess if you were trying to reach a company that was willing to like pay the charges, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
is that how it worked maybe? Or
I guess. I mean, I still remember when you had to wait past 10 o'clock to call long distance because it was cheaper.
oh, my family didn't do long distance. Like if we had to call each other, it'd be like, let the phone ring 2 times. That'll mean
And
you got home
and
safe.
then what? Send a homing pigeon? Like,
No, no. When we leave my grandmother's house, because my parents and my grandparents lived far enough away that it was long distance, even though it was like 20 minutes away. Um, my grandmother would set the timer to know approximately what time we should be home, and then my mom would call, let it ring twice, hang up.
oh, the good old days.
Because God forbid you incur a 10-cent charge to say, hey, I'm home.
God, I even remember what those phone bills look like. All right, we digress.
Yes, we digress.
This one has quite a bit of this cloth is made from the highest quality of cotton yarn, especially prepared and brilliantized by a new process giving a beautiful appearance and linen finish that has heretofore been unequaled and permanent. I feel like that last little bit like needs to say something more.
Yeah, and
Does
they
it
they
cut off?
really they
No?
really maximize. They're really maximizing as much as they can get there on the back of these rulers. And like
Oh,
you
yeah.
said, the ones that don't use, I mean, I'm holding up one of
Yeah.
mine and I did take pictures of these. Like, hey, nothing on there.
Yeah.
Although this is a lumber company, so on
Yeah.
mine.
And then I have a show. Oh, that didn't come out as good as I wanted it to. This is the one that I have that is a dark. It's not just the lighting, it is a darker wood.
Mhm.
Central Sewing Center, Rec Sewing Center, Kalamazoo, Battle Creek. So this was one of those, that a couple of guys got together to get their advertising rulers made. And why not? If you can maximize with somebody else, unless potentially I guess those two places could be tied together business wise.
Oh, yeah, they could have been owned by the same person,
Yeah.
maybe.
But yeah, so it's funny, like all the searching I did to find like some really cool ruler, like a Coates and Clark, and it was hard to search online, and like this is
Mhm.
what I could come up with. That also again like wasn't $1 million, and there's that's the back picture, the back. There's nothing on the back,
Mhm.
but yeah, so,
Foolish advertisers. You could have a
right.
whole nother advertising space there. You didn't use it.
Yeah. But thank you so much, Mike, if you happen to be lurking, for letting us peruse your fabulous collection. I can only
Yes, and
imagine how many
uh,
more he has for these.
well, in all seriousness, I mean, I knew what these were. I mean, I have some, but it never occurred to me that these were particularly collectible. And then
Mm.
I'm like, well, yeah, obviously the sewing specific ones. I mean, it's a very niche collectible, and it's amazing to me that, I mean, 150, he's obviously been at it for a while. Because
Well,
I
and
just feel like these rulers are ubiquitous, but are they're not always sewing related.
well, no, and it's interesting that because I feel like this falls well, it can fall into obviously our niche of sewing tools, but
Mhm.
then I definitely feel it falls into that bigger niche of like advertising collectors.
Yeah.
So half of
Mhm.
me wonders, even though it's somewhat of a more paper ephemera, am I going to run into this kind of stuff at that show that I just mentioned going to on Saturday?
Mhm.
Because it seems like it's paper, but it's more so advertising than it's paper. So I'm not sure.
Right. Yeah.
I'll have to report back what I find. But that concludes my screen sharing. So
Okay.
we can go over to your screen sharing.
Okay. Let me- Oh, come on, folder open. Okay. Mm, All right. Let me share. And spoiler alert, my pictures are not all that interesting because I don't have any sewing related ones. And the only reason I have any of these is because they just show up in sewing kits and sewing baskets,
Mm-hmm.
and I've bought, estate sale stuff. So these three, I think the top two I used in other pictures of needlework tools to show the size.
Yeah, that middle one we've
Um,
definitely looked at before.
yeah, and this one's interesting. The back side of it actually, and it's not advertising.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, but I feel like, of course, is it even on my desk anymore? What did I do with it? No. Oh, here it is. The back side of it is centimeters. It's actually a very nice little ruler, but in looking at it, I do not believe that it is meant to be an advertising ruler. So, um, now Pacific Northwest Lumber is an advertising ruler. And as I was taking these pictures, I realized, I have yardsticks. Like I do actually have yardsticks that have
Mm-hmm.
sewing, either like sewing stores or, um the sewing counter or the fabric counter at Kmart kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So now these are my other substrates. So these are plastic, and then I have this one here, which ironically, this one, eyelets, grommets, and fasteners, I suspect is probably more of an industrial thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I liked the idea that it might be like, you know, snaps and hooks and stuff like that. That would be sewing related.
Mm-hmm.
These two at the bottom are they actually have calendars, and I was surprised at the dates because I'd really not paid that much attention to these. They were just in a box of stuff.
Well, and isn't it
Um,
funny, like what people make you start to pay attention to?
exactly. Like I really just never paid attention to these things. Now, well, these are going to give it away a little bit with the phone numbers, but what would you guess the dates on those two bottom ones are?
I don't know, 60s?
One of them is, yes.
I was gonna say, you're gonna tell me it's 1995, aren't you?
No, actually, one of them is way older than I thought. Oops, wrong way. So the white one is 1960, and this
Mhm.
kind of off-white one, 1941. And I was
Wow.
like, oh, that's Marchant calculators. Mort Asher at the People's Bank Building. That's his ruler. Um, so yeah.
Jan said, always got a yardstick at the state fair.
Yeah. Yeah. And yardsticks also I think are rather interesting and quite collectible. And those you can pay a pretty penny
They
for.
just
And
take up a whole lot more room.
they do. And they're not, yeah, that you can't toss them in a sewing kit.
Mm-hmm.
So those are my three pictures. Do
Mm-hmm.
you wanna share the links, or do you want me to do the links?
You can do links since we're already on your thing now.
Okay, let me stop sharing for a sec while I find the links. um,
I didn't get any pictures from anyone that wanted to share rulers. So if by chance you keep having that thing where you're like, oh my goodness, I want to share something. Just remember, I'll type it into the chat here that if you want to send us stuff that you want to share, well, and it can even be after the stream, that's fine because we can always put things on social media. But it's quiltnerding@gmail.com. Hopefully you guys can see that because I forgot that I am not on the official account. So I can also just like type it
Okay.
out if it didn't come
So
in.
I am sharing my screen again. Okay. So this is the one you sent me. This was a vintage. Oh gosh, that came up much bigger on my phone. So this is a vintage Clark's cotton.
Oh man, yeah, why did that get all small?
Yeah.
Maybe if you exit out of it, it'll just go back to the regular page.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just not a very big picture. Oh, but look on the back. It says, try it.
Yeah, why is that so small all of a sudden? It
Yeah, that's weird.
wasn't before. But yeah, so I had done a search just for Coats and Clarks.
Mm-hmm.
And found this one. Yeah, there's a better photo. And I had accidentally deleted the photo, I think, that Dawn and I were talking about at Coats and Clarks. I don't remember. Maybe, I'm not sure.
Okay.
Maybe
So this
because
next one, and like I said, I kind of struggled to find things that were specifically, sewing related, but 6-inch rulers. But I
yeah.
found this, and this one's kind of cool because a Tunbridge wear or train wear were typically, and although this one doesn't seem to have anything written on it, these were typically things that were purchased as souvenirs someplace. The Tunbridge, I don't know if I think Tunbridge is the area in the UK. And then the treenware is this kind of inlaid stuff. But these would be purchased at like some sort of tourist destination. And yeah, there's bunches of places in the UK that would have had things like this that were specific, would have their little, you stayed at this you took the spa waters at wherever. So that was kind of cool. And it's interesting. It doesn't actually have numbers on it, but it is 6 inches. Thought that was interesting.
Oh, well, it has like the little like lines.
It does. Yeah, it has lines, but no numbers.
Hmm.
But I mean, it's not in super condition. It's obviously coming from the UK. They're trying to charge $53 for it. These things are very, very collectible. But what you may not realize is this stuff is inlaid. So imagine that this is, this is an inch here. That's how many little tiny slivers of wood.
Oh
And
my
I think
goodness.
what they do is it's like a much bigger thing that they put all these little slivers together and then they slice it. It's all glued together and they slice it. But nonetheless, these are little matchstick like slivers. So
You know what?
that was
I
pretty cool.
actually did find the picture, and I'm gonna send it to you right now in your email.
Okay.
Because
Let's see this
I
one.
thought I deleted it, but
So this one I thought was pretty cool. I looked for
this Mike's?
I don't think so. I looked for this the other night. I just was kind of trolling around on eBay and I ran into this and I did not look all that closely, but I did notice that there were this picture. There's sewing machines, So Smart,
Let's see, how many are in the lot? Does it say?
100. And so, but this was really interesting just in terms of like all the different kinds of businesses.
So it's 70 cents a ruler. I don't know
Yeah.
what the shipping is. The shipping might be $100.
No, the shipping was only $10.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, this was a decent, I thought a decent one. Oh, look.
Mike, if you're watching.
We know somebody with the last name Picorni.
Yeah.
So Smart, Fabric Mart, and these are all political, so I just thought it was really interesting. And a lot of these don't look that old to me. But just pretty cool that, there's all these different kinds. And like, where can you get a ruler now? Is there any place you go where they're giving away rulers like this?
Well, you say they don't look that old to you, but then that other one that we were looking at of yours that didn't look that old really
Yeah,
was
that's true.
40s.
Yeah. So anyway, I thought this was kind of interesting. And it's like, yeah, ready-made collection here.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I would assume that Mike peruses this stuff, but I don't know. Maybe he doesn't.
Yeah. So this was sort of sewing adjacent, and I picked this one out because I just thought it was this is upholstery, so
Hmm.
down cushions for upholstery.
Hmm.
But this seemed to me like a pretty, common $10 for this little ruler. You know what? I just
Yeah,
realized this is not a 6-inch ruler. This was a 12-inch ruler. I think I grabbed the
but it
wrong link.
totally looks 6 inch in that first photo.
Now I had a bunch of links. I was juggling. I think I just copied the wrong link. In any event, let's just pretend that was a 12-inch ruler. I mean, a 6-inch ruler, not a 12-inch ruler.
But I totally thought in that first picture too, it was also
Yeah.
6 inches.
Okay. Now some that I found were just, I don't know, just amusing. I don't know why. Some things just I find funny. Um, Hams and bacon. And then the taste tells.
But it's
And
Puritan
yeah,
hams and bacon.
yeah. And this is just like the random kind of stuff that you find in the junk drawer at your grandparents' house, right?
Yeah,
Or,
totally.
you know,
It kind of reminds me of what in Dawn's book when we were talking about the needle books that was like life insurance advertising. Um,
mhm.
right? Wasn't it life insurance? I
Yes.
I feel like you would get those the same way that you'd get these. Like they would
Hmm.
just be, handed out when you bought a new car or you bought this thing or you did this thing. And
Hmm.
I mean, on the one hand, I'm kind of sad that like we don't give out as much swag as we used to. You know, now
Yeah,
now
or the
swag is like this
swag.
huge deal.
Yeah, or the swag is just kind of like crappy, you know?
Yeah,
Like, I don't need another water bottle. I'd rather a ruler. I really would rather a ruler with a calendar on it myself.
yeah.
This next one is another one with a funny slogan on it. This is the Pevely Super Test dairy products, white in the bottle, pink on the cheeks.
I,
I thought that was a good one.
I feel like we don't come up with slogans as good as we used to either.
We just don't. We really just don't. So, Etsy. Now, Etsy had a few good ones too. This
Hmm.
particular one I'm about to show you was like a pretty expensive, but check
Etsy
this
can be
out.
kind of underrated when you're looking for like antique and sewing things. I find some good stuff on there.
Yeah, I do too. This one, of course, 23.25. I mean, unless this was like really, if it was sewing related and it was very desirable, something, I might pay 20 some dollars, but I don't know. This one just,
Well, and that's on sale.
yeah, it is on sale. They had it for 31, but this was interesting because furniture and funeral service.
Oh my.
So, do I need to go buy a new couch and an ottoman, or do I need a coffin? And now this company, to sort of, in their defense, I do know at one time cabinet makers made coffins.
Hmm.
So from that perspective, it makes sense depending on what year this was from. So, but when they see funeral service, to me, that's not furniture and coffins, that's furniture. And we're also going to have a funeral over here. Like, I don't know. It just it was an odd pairing, in my opinion.
I do remember recently seeing someone who had a couch that was a repurposed coffin. I wonder if those guys had a hand in that.
You never know. Okay. And then I have one last one. And this one, again, it's not sewing related, but I was like, these people, they know what they're doing. Because this is not just a 6-inch wooden ruler with some advertising on it, but this mamma jamma is a safety scraper too.
What's a safety scraper?
For scraping any hard surfaces. Let's see if we can zoom in there. So, will not cut glass or hands like steel blades, removes sleet and bugs from car windows, paint from glass, hard substances from pots and pans, mud from tools, etc. Used for every scraping purpose.
Wow.
And
I feel like I
uh
need that in my life right now.
yeah, and it appears to be like, I don't know if it looks like maybe it's brass, so that brass is softer than steel, so it wouldn't scratch your glass. Um, but it's a Central City Co-op Creamery Association, makers of Lone Tree butter.
Wow. That's
So
fancy.
yeah, yeah, good stuff. And only $10. Like I thought, this is a dual duty item.
Yeah.
Um,
I
yeah.
mean, you could scrape bugs and peanut butter with the same tool.
You could get your burned on grilled cheese residue off your pan and the sleet and snow off your windows. Your car
Could
windows.
you
Yeah.
imagine someone out there scraping the ice off their windows with a 6-inch ruler?
Hey, my mom used to use her credit cards when she'd whip a credit card out of her purse and go to town.
Wow. That only took 20 years.
Yeah, so um
Some fancy schmancy stuff.
yeah, and I guess just with this, it's so interesting to me that, it's just this little, again, something ubiquitous. We kind of take it for granted.
Well, and go grab that one I sent into your email.
Oh, yes, 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 yes. Grab that.
And
Already
you'll get
forgotten
to
about it.
see the case from my perspective and how I didn't notice this ruler
Oh,
just sitting
because
there.
I see you were looking at the other stuff.
Yeah. But it's also like, why didn't you tell me before I left? Although I didn't even look. Can you see a price on it?
Um, no, I don't see.
Yeah, it's probably underneath. So it's not like she could have said, well, I didn't tell you because I could tell the price was $40.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I was looking at all that.
Yeah, you were looking at all these goodies up here.
Yeah. But yeah,
Um,
but I mean, like, what an eagle eye, right? That she just noticed, like,
mhm.
look, a Coates and Clark's 6-inch ruler.
But just from the perspective of needlework tools, period, like what a fabulous, armload of stuff that's in here. And this is
Mhm.
this is the place that's near you, correct? That
This is Brimfield. I'm in a
Oh, this was
fairgrounds.
Brimfield.
Yep.
Okay. All right. I confused this with that place near you that you go to.
That
So
is
yeah,
that
this
is
is
Sturbridge. That's the next town.
okay.
Yeah, it's all the same vicinity, but yeah, I'm literally in a fairgrounds tent. And Brimfield happens again in July for anyone that's like, oh my God, I want to go to a place like that. But I will warn you, it is really hot. So
Yeah.
the July show tends to not be as interesting. I might pop back over, see if this vendor's there, and be like, give me that ruler. Um, but maybe not. I did, so those two the two pieces that were on the top that were the like little sewing kits, the
Mhm.
vegetable ivory. I did look at those. They were interesting. They just weren't interesting enough at the price they were at. But the vendor was super nice. He was pulling stuff out of that case for me for a while. Um, I just couldn't close the deal. So
Well, as we're heading into the home stretch here, may I reshare this? Let me pull up the picture of it again. Or should I already close it? Nah. Pull the picture up again. So this particular ruler, I have to say, Edwin Stimpson Company. So you can see, it's just your average kind of ruler. But look at this little case. It's leather. It is real
oh,
leather.
wow.
And then it has this little bezel around it. Um, oops, keep going the wrong direction. Oh, and I ever flipped it over. Well, dang it. So I'll have to hold it up. I'll stop sharing. I'll have to hold it up. So look at the back of it.
I was gonna say you didn't take a picture either with
I
the
never,
thing inside the thing.
because it was not anything super interesting. It's something super useful. Look at it's got all this metric conversion on it.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I
Like
feel like How old is that, do you think?
Um, I don't know. I get I don't think it's terribly old. I would say mid-century at the
Mm-hmm.
latest.
Mm-hmm.
But it's got all of these conversions. And when I metric is not the right word for it. It's, eighths, sixteenths, 30 a second, 64ths. And it's got the handy pocket thing, and it's got this little depth,
Yeah.
slider. So I mean, it strikes me as the kind of thing like it's sort of more of a like tools and engineering kind of situation. But
Mm-hmm.
how useful would that be? Like if you don't have one of those, the Dritz sewing thing, that
Mm-hmm.
this would be very useful for that to like mark your, mark.
So are you only kind of just now like really discovering it because we were looking at stuff?
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
These are the kind of things that like I recognize them as being useful, but I never gave them a second look, honestly, because it's like it's a ruler, I mean, we want to
Yeah,
talk
you're
about
kind of like you
rulers.
seen one, you seen them all. Like,
I got omni grids with
yeah.
the thing on the back that makes them non-slip. Like what do
Mm-hmm.
I need with these little rulers? So I literally just this handful of them, and I actually have a couple of others, but they were very like cruddy plastics, like not interesting at all. But I just was throwing them in a box with some other stuff. And when you mentioned this as a topic, I was like, oh, I don't have anything like that. But the week that we did scissors, I actually was like, oh, well, I was going through the scissors. I was like, oh, well, there's a ruler. I'll just use that. And
I
you
mean,
were like, dummy,
it's
you have
yeah,
one.
it's still like exactly what kind of happened to me when we even did scissors, where I was like, oh wait, I have like a scissors set, and then oh wait, I have like a sewing set that has scissors in it, and I have like, but I'm like, oh well, we'll just make those different topics later on down the line because we can't talk about all the things all the time.
But
So
but that makes the point that I've
yeah.
made is just that these things become just they sort of blend into the background like any kind of swag you get. But I mean how useful they are,
Mm-hmm. Are
that
you gonna
that
use
and
that thing now?
I might because it's got that those conversions.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I
Show
might.
us what it looks like when it's inside its little pocket there. That's a handy little pocket.
Yeah. But the odd thing is, in the little pocket, like the little pocket protect, like not pocket protector, but the little clip on the back, like, I mean, that is maybe it's not meant to clip over your pocket, although it seems like it. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it does slide up and down.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, that it tucks down inside, so it's not of much use unless you're not using its little case. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I mean, what an interesting little case. And it's leather. When I
Yeah.
pulled it out to take the pictures, I was like, what is this made out of? And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is leather. So,
Cool.
and that's a giveaway. Like, that's a good giveaway.
Yeah. Yeah,
And then,
that was some money swag.
yeah. And then, I know we didn't like this because this is really not an advertising ruler, this one.
Mm-hmm.
But I took pictures of this one when I think I was measuring the scissors. And also, how useful. It's got your quarter, your half, your three
Yep.
quarters on there. So that, because I mean, how often? Well, maybe it's only me. I'm telling on myself, but how often do you go line up to cut a block or something and you're going along and then you realize, ah, crud, I lined that one up with a half inch instead of a quarter inch or something like that. So you end up with something that's
You are
bigger.
not the only one.
And in my case, it's never that I end up with something that's slightly bigger that I just need to trim down again. It's always like I cut one a quarter inch too small. And then I'm like, oh, I just wasted that fabric. I'll have to use that for
Yeah,
something else.
no, you are definitely not the only one that's doing that.
Um, but I do have to say, although our ruler technology has certainly changed, I don't know that it's gotten any better. Because although, we've got that like non-slip stuff and we've got all these like handles and things, I still really struggle with measuring, measuring accurately and then using it with a rotary cutter.
Mhm.
That's one
Well,
of my.
luckily, I don't think anyone was using a rotary cutter with those little 6-inch rulers. I'd be
No, and definitely not.
horrified if I
Never,
saw them.
never use a rotary cutter with a wooden ruler. Ask me how I know.
So there was someone using a rotary cutter with those little 6-inch rulers.
Many moons ago. Now it wasn't a 6-inch ruler, but it was a wooden ruler, and
And
you
it
go
became
crooked.
6 inches when you were done. Hmm. Well then. Well,
Mhm.
I think we're gonna cut like almost like right at the end here.
Yeah.
This is like a
So
first.
our more ubiquitous little forgotten tools get us an hour.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, again, big thanks to Mike Ronigan for letting us
Yeah.
showcase his stuff and give us his professional collector opinion on things.
Mhm.
It's always nice to, you know, feature people in their collections. Like, hey guys, if you've got some substantial collection of something, like you should really let us know if you want to be like featured. And if you want, we can even bring you up onto the screen like we had Dawn
Mhm.
and have you on here like to discuss something. I won't out them by name, but a nerd sent me today some pictures of their mom's collection, and she has a lot of the Japanese pincushions, the made in Japan pincushions. It's a very nice collection. Um, so yeah, if people ever want to share things and talk about it, please message us on the Instagram or on YouTube or at the, you know, quiltnerding@gmail.com and let us know. And then as a reminder, next week, again, is going to be so not next week, next show, the 19th is,
Mhm.
we're going to do stilettos. So I guess it should really
Stilettos.
be like any kind of stiletto. Um, and I just got a bunch. I have some others. Steph has some.
Yeah, I have a
Talk
few.
about those. Well, and I can only imagine the other ones that I'm gonna find online. Um, and then don't forget that Steph has a stream tomorrow at 2 p.m. on her Twitch channel.
Mhm.
If you want to pop that into the chat because I can't.
I will.
And then we'll resume our normal streaming and everything next Tuesday with our Book Talk Tuesday, and we'll just continue with Legacy where we had left off before. And
Yeah,
I think that's gonna do it.
I think that's gonna do it. And
Alrighty.
yeah, as always, thank you guys. We would not be talking about weird niche needlework tools online if it wasn't for you guys and your
For sure.
willingness to be here and listen.
I like, yeah, I like an excuse to be like, oh my God, look at this, and oh my God, look at that. All right. Well, have a good night, Steph.
You too, Jill.
All right. Bye, everybody.